Well, good morning. My name is Jay Inslee, and I have to say this is a huge honor for me. You know, there's only one thing that can bring the sunshine to the Northwest on a day like this. It's the National Congress of American Indians. I want to thank you for bringing this gift to our part of the world. It is rare, isn't it? I want to thank Jefferson President Keel and my friend Ron Allen, whose leadership has been so important to us in the Northwest, and all my friends here. This is an honor for me personally, and if I can just share a personal note why it is such an honor. This community, this national community, has been very important to my family and the Inslee clan for a long period of time. Some of the best days I ever spent were on the Tulalip Nation, north of Seattle, about 60 miles. When I was growing up, when my friend Don Hatch and others in the Tulalip were kind enough to allow me to help them pull in their nets when the humpies were in. And I learned two things from the Tulalip Nation. One, how to fish, and two, how to respect a great nation and a great community. And that's why it's a great a delight for me to get to have this honor to address you. And ever since then, I've been working with my friends in the tribes, and I'm very excited about the progress that's going on in my part of the world right now. Right now, we have in the Pacific Northwest what I call the Great Awakening going up in tribal communities. An economic reawakening because of some of the great entrepreneurial activity that the tribes are involved in, and a great cultural awakening. You know, when I saw the canoe journey coming in with 100+ canoes to the Swinomish this year, and see these young people getting involved in their cultures, the rebirth of these cultures, this is a great thing that's going on in the Pacific Northwest. And I'm happy to work with you to make sure that this progress continues. But we have a long ways to go because we know that the price of sovereignty is eternal vigilance, and the price of a decent budget from Uncle Sam is eternal work. And both of those need great work. We're not done with those struggles, are we? And we have to realize every morning we have to get up working on sovereignty, and every morning we have to get up trying to make sure the federal government fulfills its obligation to the tribal communities. And obviously it has not done enough. So I appear before you as co-chair of the Congressional Native American Caucus, saying that we've got to make sure that we focus what I call the twin pillars of tribal awakening. One is the pillar of making sure that the federal government fulfills its budgetary obligation to the tribes. And obviously at this moment, this probably is a moment of the greatest anxiety for good reason. We in the tribal communities have had some time with the super committee working. And by the way, there's a Super Bowl, there's a Super Ball, but there's nothing super about the super committee, about given the challenges that we have. And we have simply got to make sure that we do not allow those voices of fear that have sometimes reared their ugly heads to not allow tribal budgets to be targeted in this process. And we've got to say this very loudly. And it's important for us to say this because, you know, this community gets targeted sometimes. And we got to make sure that those targets do not end up on these programs. Now, I also want to add that in this super committee process, it's not just the tribal budgets that we need to pay attention to. It's all the other budgets, the justice budgets, the alcohol and drug abuse budgets, the violence against women budgets. We're affected, and tribal communities are affected by all of those budgets. So I'm hopeful that we can come up with a bipartisan solution to these deficit problems that do not eviscerate these programs that help our communities. And I'm advocating for a balanced approach here, and a balanced approach includes maybe a few multimillionaires helping out so we don't just cut tribal communities' budgets. And I'm hoping we find a solution to that. The second, there's somebody I agree with there. I appreciate that. Second pillar of this growth agenda for the tribal communities is self-governance. And we have, I think, some great work that we are now just starting to increase the ability of self-governance. And I've seen self-governance work so well, and I'm excited about these prospects. That's why I'm hopeful that the Self-Government Amendments Act and the HERTH Act can move. And the reason they need to move is that we have seen entrepreneurial activity succeed in so many places with tribes. We've got to expand those opportunities. And I'm hopeful that those bills will move forward. And I'm hopeful that we can get a bipartisan work to continue to pressure the administration to appropriately implement the self-government programs in the 477 program. We can do this, hopefully without statutory work, and we know that now is not the time to change the rules of a successful program and increase the administrative burdens that we have. We've got to trust the responsibility from the federal government, but that is not a reason to increase impediments to entrepreneurial activity and the innovation that's happening across tribal governments. So I'm hopeful that we can move forward. Now, Carcieri. I am very eager to find our Carcieri fix. It was a terrible decision, and we know the financial burdens this has put on tribes. We did include it last year in the Interior Bill, as you know, and I just think this has got to be one of the top priorities of Congress. And I am hopeful, as you are, that we're going to find a solution to this. I've co-sponsored a bill, and I think that there are several vehicles we can use to get the fix done. I'll be looking for the fastest train out of the station. And whatever that is, I look forward to you to make sure that that gets done. So those are the two pillars that we need to build an agenda on. Now I want to talk about what I consider the to-do list, the jobs list for Congress in the next year or so. And I'm going to mention some things that I think are urgent that we've got to move on. I want to start with health care. Now, this is near and dear to my heart because I've worked with tribes in the state of Washington that have had success, the Yakimas and Natural Resource, Colvilles, and various issues up north. My favorite picture in my office is of it was the #1 small library in America at the Port Gamble Scallum in, I think, the year 2000. The Suquamish, where we're having good progress on economic issues and some land issues. But underlying all those, I see health problems in the tribal community. And we know that we've got an epidemic looming of diabetes of our young people if we don't improve our health across tribal communities. So health care is very near and dear to my heart. And I was happy that we finally passed a health care reform bill after 10 years of effort. And I am very upset that there is an effort that has gone on now with 26 attorney generals that is seeking to repeal that act. We cannot allow 10 years of work to be pulled out, the rug out from under us with a lawsuit, and we have got to make sure that that act remains in place. And I'm going to do everything I can to see to it that that is. And I'm concerned about this Supreme Court process in this regard, and I think everybody in tribal community should be. We came too far to lose the Indian Health Care Act. This is a statement we should be making. I hope you'll make it in Portland in a very strong sense. So if the Supreme Court acts adversely, we will be back. And we will be back trying to make sure that we deal with the whole panoply of health care challenges for tribal country. And that includes this diabetes issue that I hope to work with you to get at. Second to-do issue for Congress is the Violence Against Women Act. You know, it's pretty sad to me to know that 1 out of 3 Indian women will be assaulted at some time in their lifetime. And I know that many communities are stepping up to the plate to deal with this issue. And I was happy to join you in 2007, get the data reporting improvements so we can at least get data on this. But we got more work to do on this, and I'm open to any ideas that you can bring to me to help the U.S. Congress to help to stem this scandal that we have. Third to-do list, internet gaming. Now here's something that I think that it's very, very important for the federal government to exercise its highest responsibility when it comes to dealing with this issue of internet gaming. And that responsibility is to not move forward without full tribal participation, to not move forward until the voices of every tribe is heard from, and that everything that needs to be protected in the tribal communities is protected. Sovereignty, the ability to make sure that this economic expansion that we've realized can continue, the ability to make sure that IGRA is not compromised, the ability to make sure that the full voice of the tribal community is respected and heard before there is any action on internet gaming. And this is an important issue given that the economic growth that we have experienced cannot and should not be allowed to be reduced with some jump into the unknown without dealing with all of these issues. So you have my pledge that I will be doing everything I can to work with every tribe in the country to make sure that the substantive issues that the tribes have are protected and considered before that there's any action. We made that voice clear in our first hearing in this regard, and we know that this is a complicated issue. This is not something that can be done with sort of a whitewash to throw one bill out and to think that these issues are going to be resolved. So I look forward to working with you to make sure that we don't reduce this economic engine. And by the way, let me tell you why I think this is important. You know, I have been involved in a lot of efforts to attack Indian gaming in this country. And I've gone to the floor of the House many times when people who are jealous about this economic activity have come to try to attack Indian economic expansion. And the story I tell is about the very first Boys and Girls Club in tribal communities ever, I think, was on the Tulalip Nation, very first Boys and Girls Club. And that's there, in fact, because of some of this economic expansion. This industry means an opportunity for our kids. And that's why I think that we've got to be jealous in protecting the ability to protect this economic expansion. So there's a couple pillars of growth. There's 3 issues for Congress to work on. I want to thank you for being vigorous and vocal to make sure that we move forward as a community. And I want to tell you, my door is always open. I hope you always say hello anytime you have an idea. And thank you for bringing both economic expansion and the sunshine to the Pacific Northwest. Thanks a lot. This has been a delight. Take care.